The horse's nostrils flared with fury as it charged toward the small, shivering figure in the corner of the ranch. Dust flew wildly. Screams pierced the air. And yet, she didn't flinch. Before we continue, if you're watching our video for the first time, you're highly welcome to Elliot Stories. Please bless and support us by hitting that subscribe button. Turn on your notification bell to get notified for more edifying stories coming your way tomorrow and never to miss any. Share to friends who love stories filled with twist and morals and loved ones who loves respect and justice no matter the cost. Where are you watching from? Please tell us in the comments. We love seeing how far our story travels. Also endeavor to stay till the end of this video because there's a little package for you that you don't want to miss. To our unique constant viewers, our high esteemed subscribers, lovely new viewers and our first time subscribers, we appreciate you all for being part of our growth. Her name was Elsie. 9 years old. Diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder at 4. She barely spoke. Didn't like to be touched. And found comfort in sketching the wild animals around her, horses, in particular. But her father, Bernard Whitaker, a real estate mogul known more for his sharp tongue and iron fists than his empathy, saw her silence not as a condition to understand, but as weakness to crush. It began the morning his business deal in Dubai collapsed. He stormed into the house, his ego bruised, screaming about betrayal and incompetence. Elsie, sitting quietly in the stables, drawing a picture of Moonfire, the ranch's most aggressive horse, was oblivious. Until Bernard's shadow blocked her light. "Still wasting time with crayons," he growled. She didn't answer. She never did. He yanked the drawing from her hand and glanced at it. "This? You call this living?" Elsie reached for it gently, tears pooling in her eyes. Bernard crushed the paper, threw it into the dung pile, and kicked over her small sketching stool. "You don't need toys. You need reality. Fear. Discipline. Get up." He dragged her by the arm toward Moonfire's pen. The stable boys watched in horror but dared not interfere. Moonfire was aptly named. The beast had thrown professional riders, trampled a vet once, and was always kept behind a reinforced gate. "Open the gate," Bernard ordered. The stable master hesitated. "Sir, please, she's just a child." Bernard turned his cold eyes on him. "Are you disobeying me?" The gate creaked open. Elsie stood trembling, her eyes locked on Moonfire's. The horse snorted, stomping the ground. Bernard pushed her forward, into the pen, and slammed the gate behind her. A gasp traveled through the entire ranch. Her mother, Celia, ran from the porch, screaming. "Bernard! No! She's not well!" But the man had already walked off, lighting a cigar like he'd just performed a magic trick. Inside the pen, Moonfire charged. But then, something unexpected happened. Elsie didn't move. Didn't scream. She slowly raised her hand, open, calm, soft. Moonfire skidded to a stop just inches from her. The air stood still. No one moved. Moonfire snorted again, lowered his head, and sniffed her fingers. Then, to everyone's shock, he nuzzled her. Elsie gently touched his manette, then leaned in. Whispered something no one could hear. From the ranch house's balcony, Bernard's cigar dropped from his fingers. He stormed back to the pen. "This is some trick. What did you do to that horse?" But Moonfire bared his teeth, stepped protectively in front of Elsie, and neighed so loud Bernard fell backward. Celia ran to her daughter, arms wide. Elsie allowed herself to be hugged for the first time in months. Bernard's grip on his world, on his daughter, on his fear, shattered. That night, Bernard sat alone in his office, watching the security footage over and over. What did he miss? What did that silent girl do that even seasoned horse whisperers couldn't? The following week, a video of the incident, secretly recorded by a stable boy, went viral. Millions watched as the fierce horse bowed to a girl the world had written off as broken. The media exploded. Autistic girl tames furious stallion with a whisper. Celebrities reposted it. Autism awareness foundations reached out. Behavioral scientists were fascinated. Horse therapy centers offered scholarships. But what truly stirred the world was Bernard Whitaker's press conference. He stepped up to the podium, visibly shaken. "I was wrong," he began, looking directly into the cameras. "I thought power meant control. I thought silence was weakness. My daughter showed me that strength comes in many forms. I endangered her life because I couldn't understand her condition. Today, I vow to use my influence to protect and support families with children like Elsie." He announced the creation of the Elsie Whitaker Foundation, dedicated to providing therapy animals and creative support for neurodivergent children. But change didn't come easy. Many questioned his sincerity. Some sponsors pulled out of his real estate firm. Protests were held outside his headquarters. A lawsuit was even filed on behalf of Child Protection Services. It was Elsie, ironically the very girl he tried to break, who softened public perception. She drew a new piece. A picture of Moonfire, her mother, her father, and herself, all under the same sun. It was printed and sold globally, with proceeds funding therapy centers. 1 year later, Bernard sold off half his assets to fund 12 animal therapy farms across the country. Celia became a national advocate for neurodiverse parenting. And Elsie. She became the youngest honorary member of the National Equine Therapy Association. Still mostly nonverbal, Elsie let her art and her calm spirit speak. Children from around the world visited her ranch to meet Moonfire, the horse that bent to the girl who didn't speak, but who listened deeper than most ever could. Years passed. Bernard, now grey and slower, never missed a therapy session on the farm. He cleaned hooves, fed animals, and sat beside Elsie every evening as she sketched by the paddock. One day, a journalist asked him, "If you could speak to the man you were that day you opened that gate, what would you say?" Bernard looked into the horizon, then whispered, "I'd tell him he's the one who needed healing, not her." And so the ranch that once echoed with rage and ego became a sanctuary of patience and understanding. Elsie's silence wasn't broken. It never needed to be. Because the world finally learned to hear her in a different way. Moral lesson. This story reminds us that every individual, regardless of their condition, has worth, a gift, a voice. Sometimes, it's society that needs therapy, not the person society fails to understand. Patience, love, and willingness to learn can heal more than fear and control ever will. This story was humbly crafted and brought to you by Elliot Stories. Catch you on the next one. Elliot Stories appreciates you all.